All right, welcome everybody. This is Dave Espino, and I'm joined on the line with Ricky Kesler. And Ricky is part of a two-man team that are all about niche websites. Now, I love talking about passive income strategies, and I love teaching passive income strategies. And one of the passive income strategies that is really not that well known or not that well publicized is the area of niche websites, and specifically doing affiliate marketing through niche websites. It's a very exciting business because you can not only build a passive income, and each website becomes another stack on top of another stack of passive income. So it's really cool, but unfortunately there aren't a whole lot of people out there teaching it, at least to the level that these guys are teaching it. I've been following them on YouTube recently, and everything they're saying is just like, yes, that's right, that makes sense, yes, that's awesome. And it's clear they now have a system that they've developed over years to be able to really dial in a niche website, do it right from the beginning, and build it up over time, and eventually build up a passive income. So I was just so excited about what they're doing that I'm like, I gotta present this to my audience. I want you guys to know about these guys because they're the real deal. They clearly know what they're doing. The reason I know that is I have had niche websites in the past, and this was this was probably about 12 years ago, way before things got as dialed in as these guys seem to have dialed it in. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I want to welcome you, Ricky, to this call and this webinar, and just welcome aboard.
Thanks, Dave. I'm glad to be here.
Well, awesome. So I've been following you guys on YouTube for a while and watching your videos. And for those that haven't learned about you guys, what is your YouTube channel? If you can just let us know real quick.
Yeah, the YouTube channel is just called Income School. So yeah, you can go find it. Just if you search Income School, you'll find us.
Okay, awesome. So that's somehow you guys came across my YouTube feed, and I'm watching them, and then I noticed myself watching 3, 4, 5, 6 videos. I'm going, these guys are onto something. These guys know what they're doing, and it was very exciting. So now you and Jim, your partner, are obviously really good friends. Have you guys been friends a long time? How did you guys meet?
Yeah, it's just kind of funny how it all worked out. We met back in high school. Freshman year of high school, we had a bunch of classes together. We both liked the same girl, and I was in every one of her classes that year, I guess except one. She was across the hall from me, and I studied German, she studied French. But other than that, we were in all the same classes. And anyway, so Jim was hanging around her all the time and couldn't really get away from me because I was in all of her classes. So anyway, we were kind of forced into getting to know each other, and I just kind of remember one day, I was talking to him, and I said, "You're talking about things we like to do," and I told him I played tennis, and he's like, "I played tennis too." And turns out we had pretty much everything in common. So time passed, and everybody kind of moved on, and the two of us ended up staying friends for years now. Here we are, 20 years later, still close friends.
Wow, that's awesome. And I heard in one of the videos, I heard something about Idaho. You guys are opening an office in Idaho, and I was like, wait a minute, we just moved to Idaho. And I'm going, wait a minute, I got to connect with these guys somehow. And so have you guys always lived in Idaho?
I wouldn't say always, but I grew up here almost entirely. I was born here, and then again grew up most of my life here. I moved away for a little bit. I went to school in Utah. Then I took a job in pretty rural area in Virginia. Took another job in Dallas, Texas, and about as quick as I could, though, I got back here. Nothing wrong with those other places, but man, I just love Idaho. Now, Jim, on the other hand, he was in Idaho by probably about junior high, by about middle school time, and has spent most of the rest of his life here as well. So we're both pretty much permanent Idaho residents, I would say.
Good. Well, like I said, my family and I moved here a little over a year ago, and we love it. It's just an amazing place to live. Kind of want to keep it a secret.
I know.
A lot of people probably feel that way too once they've moved here. But it's just a beautiful place to live. So especially coming from Southern California, where we really don't have seasons. It's
Mm-hmm.
just hot most of the year, even into like October, November,
Yeah.
December. There are some hot days, and then January it gets a little cold, and February gets a little cold, and then right back to heat. You know, so I really didn't know what I was missing. I had no idea what I was missing with the seasons and how on time the seasons are and everything. It's so cool. It's so I'm still in awe, really, of
Yeah.
that. It's amazing. So tell me how did you guys get started with building niche websites? Or maybe if you could start by giving us kind of an idea of what a niche website is, like a basic definition, and then
Yeah.
get
So
started.
I think the easiest way to kind of visualize this, if you haven't heard about niche websites before, is when you just have a random question, maybe a topic that you're interested in learning more about, and you go Google that question,
Hmm.
you end up on some website, which usually looks like some hobbyist, some person who is interested in that topic, just took the time to make a nice website and answer your questions for you. Well, while that may seem like a really altruistic thing for that person to have done, they're actually doing it to make an income. That's a niche website. A niche website is just a website about a particular topic, a niche or a niche, depending, I call it both things. Sometimes we get called out by people for saying niche, and they say it's pronounced niche. It's actually pronounced both ways.
Right.
But it's a website about one particular niche where you earn a living through various different monetization methods. I think we'll talk a little bit about monetization, but affiliate income, which you mentioned, Dave, is a big one, and that's
Hmm.
where you earn a commission for products that you recommend. When somebody clicks on a link to that product and buys it, you get a commission for that.
Right, right. And how did you guys get started in this?
Yeah, it was Jim. Jim got started first.
Uh-huh.
He several years back was in law school, and he was studying photography or taking some photography classes on the side just to kind of stay sane, and kind of got passionate about photography. And at the same time, he was starting to listen to all sorts of podcasts about passive income. He kind of hit a rough patch for a little bit there and decided he needed to do something. So he wrote an ebook about photography, and he made a website. And it's kind of just a funny story the way it all works out. I mean, he taught a continuing education class at a local high school
Hmm.
in Florida where he was in law school, and just kind of made the website as a resource for his students. And what he didn't expect and what ended up happening was over time he started getting a lot of traffic from outside the class. And he
Right.
said, where's this coming from? And so he kind of lucked into it in some ways. I mean, just a lot of pieces came together. And then he started learning more about it and started practicing it. And he built up one of the biggest photography websites on the internet, improvephotography.com. And then some years later, he kind of decided to take that process and start kind of trying to implement it on other things, and made a couple other websites, kind of bought and sold websites. And a few years ago, about 4 years ago, he called me up and said, hey, this is really cool. I just started this website income school. I want to teach other people how to do this, but I've got too many projects going on.
Hmm.
And I talked with him a little bit about it. It started out skeptical, like most people. You're making a living as a blogger, okay? Yeah. And I was a little bit prideful, I would say. I had a bit of an ego, and I thought, okay, yeah, good luck with that. I'll just go use my engineering degree and have a real job. Um, but I saw what he was doing, and I kind of kept a finger on the pulse a little bit. Was intrigued by it. So when he called me up and said, hey, I've got too much going on. Do you want to partner with me on Income School? And I said, yes, let's do it. Absolutely. And since then, I've been doing the same thing, building some of my own websites. Again, partnering with Jim from a business standpoint, but both of us building our own sites. And then now just doing all sorts of stuff, since we've both now sort of left our old lives behind. He's
Hmm.
left photography for the most part. I left the 9-to-5 job behind, and we both work full-time on Income School. And so now, I mean, just the projects we're working on, it's just one thing after another. So it's just
That's
been a big
awesome.
snowball. It's been fantastic.
And I love that map that you guys have in the office where you do a pinpoint every time somebody makes their first money online using your strategies. That is awesome. So, in fact, I'm going to borrow that idea myself because
Absolutely. Do it.
it's exciting. It's really good to be mission driven rather than money driven. And I think that's a really powerful way to do it, is to keep yourself always remembering, hey, this is the reason we're doing this, is we're here to help people. We're here to change people's lives and that kind of thing. So that's exciting. Did you guys do anything online business-wise prior to this?
For me, prior, I did a little bit with just kind of arbitrage, well, basically Amazon FBA. I wasn't necessarily just going through Amazon, but ordering products from overseas and just kind of trying to make that business model work. And we found what most people find is that a product gets put out there, you think, oh, this is awesome, and you go buy a bunch of it, and next thing you know, Amazon's flooded with it. There are 12 other stores selling the exact same product. It didn't work very well. It can work for those of you doing it. It definitely can work. It wasn't something that I enjoyed very much. Jim, I think, has done a little bit of Amazon FBA. He kind of dabbled in that too, not prior to this, but kind of along the way. And again, he kind of came to the same conclusion that he gets a lot more out of his time if he just creates good content for his websites.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's amazing to me is that you guys seem to have landed on a system. You've kind of perfected a system over time. And so that's, I'd love to know more about that as well. Now, I've had some experience building niche websites. And like I said, this was about 12 years ago. This is a long time ago. And this was before probably 3 or 4 or 5 Google slaps came along here and there. And I think it affected niche sites to some degree, or at least what they call thin content, which I think some of my sites were guilty of thin content. But now, like I said, it seems like you guys have it down to a science. You even mentioned like a 60-step plan. Is that like a checklist that you just go through every time you create a site, or is it something you designed for your students to understand, like not to miss anything? Or can you give us like a little bit of a overview of what those 60 steps are, without obviously not a...
Yeah, sure. No, that's fine. It really is something that we developed over time. We a couple years ago, we decided it was time for us to make a course, something you know a lot about. We decided it was time to make a course, and we did it just the ultra simplest way possible. We outlined what we thought every website needed, and we put these steps in order, and we just kind of landed on 60 is what it took. And so it's a checklist that we use for every site. So our course, our system is called Project 24, and the concept there is that in about 24 months, you can replace a full-time income. Obviously, give and take a little bit on the time, depending on a lot of factors, including how much income is a full-time income.
Right.
But in about 24 months, we teach people to create more than one website in that time. And so the 60 steps are something they follow every time they start a new site. Again, it's something we created as we just looked back on what worked. And that's the nice thing with having so many years of experience with so many different websites, is what things worked across the board. And we laid it out. We outlined these 60 steps. For each one, we recorded like a short video. We posted them on YouTube as private videos, hosted them there. Mm-hmm. And then when somebody signed up for the course, we put them on an email drip campaign where every day they got an email with the next video.
Nice.
And it worked really, really well for, probably about 1.5 years. And after about a year, we said, the 60 steps need some revision. We can make some improvement to not only the steps themselves, but also even the order of the steps. We can teach better. We can just make this clearer. So again, the 60 steps are things that we use for our students, but they're also things we use for ourselves when we build a new site. So we follow the 60 steps. And that's when we decided to come out with Project 24. We made it a little bit more legitimate of a course. We've got course software on our website so that it's actually run like a nice course. And it's the pace is self-moderated rather than just getting a daily email. But when when you're bootstrapping a business, you kind of do what you can do. And so we did it that way. We went the very basic route, and that's kind of what we teach people to do as well. So that's what the 60 steps is. And it really is the 60 steps to build the foundation of a website. If you do just that, you'll be able to make some money from a website. But you can build on that and turn it into whatever you want. Either keep it as a very passive niche website, or you can build it into a more authoritative, larger website with courses, with information products and other things. So that's what the 60 steps is all about.
And you mentioned something about you recommend that students start several websites at the beginning. How many would you say is a good number to start with?
So in Project 24, we teach 2. Okay. We want people to have one just totally passive niche website, and then one more authority website that they can put information products on. We have people create 2 websites early on and then choose which one are they passionate enough about to take it beyond that. And the reason we build an authority site is because the income potential from one authority site is big compared to a smaller passive site. Once you start to get a larger amount of traffic on a bigger site, the potential for monetization, it's not linear. It's somewhat exponential, at least for a while. Mm-hmm. And so having one big site versus 4 little sites, I'd usually take the big site. But from having those 2 websites, then, for somebody to have a portfolio of, 5, 10 websites would be totally fine. I would never have more than one large authority website that you manage yourself, though. It becomes too much. It's like when Jim tried to do improve photography and income school. You just couldn't do it all on his own because it required too much attention. But a minimum of 2 is what I would say.
And an authority site, how would you define an authority site in terms of size? How many number of posts or pages on an authority site? Or is it not necessarily the number of pages, but the length of the blog posts? How would you define that?
Yeah, it's a little bit, there's not like there's not a hard line in the sand, I think. Because you can have a niche website that has 100 or 200 articles on it. It has more to do with, I would say, kind of how you monetize the site. So, Well, how you monetize it and how broad you go are kind of the 2 things. If you stay really, really, really focused and you monetize it through just passive means like we said, affiliate marketing and advertising, then I would still probably classify it as a niche website, even if you built it up to 200 articles, just because it's very passive. You can really just let it sit for months at a time. An authority site is something that's just, it's more of an active website, and it's one where you as a business and you as a person try to actually have real authority in that space. And oftentimes that allows you to sort of broaden on your topic a little bit. And then you might start selling information products and courses because you're more of an authority on the subject.
That makes sense.
That's probably the best way I can explain.
Yeah. Well, I once actually purchased an authority site. Somebody had posted on an internet marketing forum the question, how can you have, I think it was, I forget how many, 17,000 visitors a month and not have any sales. And I was like, that's not possible. You should have some sales out of that many visitors. I forget the exact numbers, but anyway, it was something like that. And I contacted him. I wanted to just see, if I could help in some way and whatever. And we ended up having discussions about he wanted to sell the site. So it was a very big pet related website. It had like 3,200 pages on it. Wow. Which is huge. And I was in a middle of a business that was taking up all my time, so I didn't really have the time to give to it. But eventually I turned it into some good income, and then eventually ended up selling it when I ended up selling several of my niche sites. So, but that one could have been really big had I had the time, to devote to it, because it really required kind of a rehabbing of the website. A lot of things were done wrong on it and could have been done a lot better and that kind of thing. But even so, it was making some good money. And the ironic thing is he had put an affiliate program on all the pages of the site, or all the main pages of the site, for a dental insurance program. but it wasn't for pets, it was for humans.
Oh yeah.
So on this pet-related website, he's selling dental insurance, and it was making money. So
That's funny.
imagine if it would have had, pet stuff on it.
Yeah.
Which
Huh.
eventually we did. We started selling pet insurance through affiliate programs and that kind of thing. And that led to me creating a niche site just about pet insurance, which worked out really well as well. So interesting. Yeah, I love this business. I think it's so exciting it's exciting to know that there's still opportunity, on the internet for a niche website like this. You almost kind of think, man, as long as the internet's been around and as long as so many people have created websites and there's so many millions and billions of websites out there, how can there still be opportunity for a niche site? But apparently you guys have a formula, right, for finding those opportunities, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we did kind of develop sort of a formula. We probably need to revisit it a little bit because even our ideas around picking a good niche have kind of changed a little bit over the last couple of years. But we keep telling people, because people ask, they say, isn't the internet just really crowded? And then they hear about, you mentioned, and again, we may talk about this, but you mentioned that we said we were opening up an office. We're hiring writers to create content on a scale that we obviously can't on our own. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people came back to us and said, well, then forget it. I'm out of this business altogether. I can never compete with you. And we said, I can't remember the number, but it's ridiculous. There are hundreds of millions of websites on the internet. Like, no matter what we do for the rest of our lives, we can't hardly touch what's already out there. And yet every week, Jim and I will be talking and we'll have an idea of something else and we'll go take a look and we'll say, yeah, of course there are 100 websites on this topic or 50 websites on this topic, but none of them have answered this question. There are so many gaps within virtually every topic,
right,
that you can find your niche. And really in our opinion, there hasn't been a better time to get started because Google's getting better at weeding out the garbage. We've been competing with not just thin content, but with just really spammy tactics for a long time, really spammy SEO tactics for a long time. And, we're able to rank our content really, really well without using those tactics. But now it's even better because Google's getting so much better. Their algorithms are getting so much better at weeding out the garbage that our content now just rises to the top. And so really we feel like there hasn't been a better time to make good content and make good websites and earn a good living from it.
That makes so much sense. Quality always wins. And whether you're doing Amazon FBA, which mm-hmm. I'm very good friends with one of the top Amazon FBA, how can I put this, community leaders. He leads a huge community of people that are doing Amazon FBA, and they're just like right on the cutting edge of strategies that work really well. Uh-huh. And quality wins. If you have a better quality product or a better quality listing or a better quality whatever, shipping process, everything, you win in this environment. So I agree. There's always opportunity, and there's always, there's the idea of saturation when you try to apply it to the internet just doesn't make any sense at all. Recently, as part of promoting my online course mentorship program, came across a statistic that every second that passes by, there's 40,000 searches on Google. Every single second. Okay.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me at all.
It's 1.2 trillion searches. So within all that search volume that's happening every single second, there's so much opportunity. There's so much untapped opportunity and gaps, like mm-hmm. you said, in the search phrases that we can go after. So it's too bad, but sometimes people have kind of a scarcity mindset, and it keeps them from going forward in something that could really change their lives, Uh-huh. Now, speaking of niche sites, what would you say are like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of the main elements to creating a really good, profitable niche site? I would imagine you start with kind of a discovery process of what would be the right, the right positioning or the right keywords mm-hmm. to work it around. But What would you say it takes to create a really good niche site?
Yeah, I would say you have to start with a topic that is going to set you up for success. So what does that mean? Well, one, I mean, not picking something that's not overly competitive, and there are only a handful of topics that we would really steer people clear of. You know, anything medical is just going to be tough. There are some huge websites, and unless you're a doctor or something, you know, Google's really giving the top rankings to people with more authority. And it's just super competitive. And actually fitness is the same way, not because of an authority issue, but because everybody that's ever worked out wants to make a website about fitness. Sorry, it's just really, really competitive.
Hey, I've never worked out, and I want to make a website.
Exactly. Photography is actually one that's gotten pretty, I mean, they're just some websites that are just covering the gamut of topics. Although you can still find a niche within photography as long as you niche down and pick something a little bit more specific. You want to do a website about landscape photography, you could probably make it work. But the more important part, I think, about picking a topic for a website, especially if you're starting out, your first one or two, is pick something that you can be either passionate about or at least interested in. Yeah, are some topics going to be more competitive or more seasonal or maybe have a slight downward trend in the search volume over time? Yes, but it doesn't matter at all if you can't get yourself to write the content. And if you pick a topic that you're going to be too like bored to write about every day, then you'll never ever create the content you need to create. And I think that's the number one thing. So pick a topic you can be passionate about. From there, we actually, when we're trying to pick topics to write about within our website, we take a different approach from most people. A lot of people will they'll use keyword research tools to try to come up with high search volume, meaning lots of people are searching it, and low competition keywords, and they'll try to create algorithms and use these tools to figure it out. We find that the tools are all wrong, that the numbers are inaccurate, they're misleading, not purposely, but they get people to make the wrong decision. We've written many articles where the primary keyword, the primary thing that we're writing the article about, is supposed to have a search volume of 0, and yet we get 5,000 people every month reading that article. Wow. So tell me how that works. No, that happens all the time. So what we do is we just, we do it a little bit more manually. We let Google help us figure out what are search terms that people are searching by, just typing in a part of a search phrase and then letting Google autocomplete and see what all comes up. And they'll give me a list of things people are actually searching. And then we actually go search those things and we think to ourselves, what does the top content look like? If I search this, what does the number one article look like? How good is it? How well does it answer the question? And when we find those topics that the top search results aren't doing a good job of answering the question, it's really thin content, maybe it's a really short article, then we put that on our hit list of topics to write about. And once you kind of get used to that process, it can be very, very fast. For this writing center we're opening up in Idaho, we have several websites already researched with a couple hundred articles a piece. We already have written the headline. We've decided the topics, written the headline, and it's something that we've done in a matter of a couple of weeks, picking all this stuff.
That's amazing.
So, when you're picking the topic to write about, do that, and then make sure that the content that you write then is really helpful and actually answers the question. Nailing the answer, that so many people miss that. They want to try to bury the answer somewhere in the article so people will read longer. Well, if you ever go to a website and you can't find the answer in the first couple minutes of reading, what do? You leave.
Yep.
And sometimes they never answer the question at all. The next, I would say, be totally real and genuine and authentic on your websites. A good niche website should feel less like an encyclopedia and more like the answer I would get from my knowledgeable neighbor. You know, if you ever watched Home Improvement, you know, Tim Taylor goes out back and talks to Wilson about everything.
Right.
That neighbor that you would go to with your question, who knows something about the topic, and you ask them what's the answer they're going to give and how are they going to explain it. That's the tone that we take on our websites. And then kind of the last thing that I would say that makes a successful website is, while you should have an idea of how you can monetize your website, you shouldn't be thinking about monetization while you're writing the content. Too many websites will, you know, their articles will be straight up product reviews, and every 2 paragraphs there's a product image and a big buy now button that's an affiliate link. And that just feels spammy. It doesn't feel real. And I can tell they just have an ulterior motive in making that recommendation to me. If you just answer the question that I have, and in the process of doing that, you know, then there's an affiliate link somewhere where you say, by the way, for my RV, my favorite generator to use is this one. Here I've written an explanation of why. They click on that. There's a whole post all about this generator, how it works, how loud it is, and all sorts of stuff, and why it's my favorite one. And people will click on that, and we get a better click-through rate because of that. We get more traffic to our website because of that, and so we're able to monetize it a lot better by not selling people. If you think about it, what happens when somebody knocks on your door and is selling a product? You immediately take a defensive stance. Right. You know they're trying to sell you. Whereas if somebody just is talking to you about something and you ask them for advice, and then they say, oh yeah, well, here's what I'd recommend. You know, their recommendation just means a lot more. So those are kind of the main things I would say. And it all kind of falls around just authenticity and being really helpful. If your articles are really helpful, if your website's really helpful, you're going to do just fine.
Yeah, and as you're outlining those elements, I could see how Google would see the visitors that come to your site as much better engaged, staying around longer. You know, the bounce rate would be lower. Everything about the site would just indicate quality. You know, and Google loves that. They want to be sure that they're serving their users, their searchers, in a really good way. So you're basically, I mean, your niche website is your product, so to speak, because your product has to show quality. It has to show that it's serving the needs of the people that are coming to it. And I really like the approach, though, of we want to be that neighbor, and we want to serve that person first. That's kind of the foundation. We want to serve that person.
Right.
If we happen to make a sale here and there, that's great. And that's just an awesome approach and an awesome positioning, you know, to begin with. So that's awesome. I love it. I love that. So this was kind of a personal question. Do you guys use the all-in-one SEO plugin, or do you have other plugins that you use that help with your goals? And you don't have to name them, but in the day when I was doing them, there were certain plugins that you would use that would just help with SEO and things like that, or a sitemap type of thing. And I know it's a little more technical maybe than some of the people listening, but just for me.
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. So for SEO, there are 2 plugins that really, whichever one you want to use, they both actually do a pretty good job of what they're intended to do. All-in-one SEO is one of them. The other that we'll use is Yoast SEO, one or the other. They both do a lot of the same things. They'll both create a sitemap for you. My only problem with those plugins is they try to do too much for you sometimes. So Yoast is particularly bad about this. They have this big section right under your article that gives you an SEO score and a readability score. Well, we've had a lot of people in our program who will spend a lot of time, like hours, trying to make their article like nail the score. And in the end, the basis for how they're calculating that score isn't accurate for what Google cares about. They're looking at keyword density and stuff. Well, with semantic search, Google's not worried about a specific keyword so much anymore. They recognize that these 12 different things all mean the same thing. They're getting better at that. So, you know, it encourages people to stuff their articles full of keywords, and it just ends up being a big waste of time. So I kind of wish that they would just have an option to turn those off. Maybe they do. Maybe they do, and it's just a setting that I haven't found. But the SEO stuff that they do is good. Really, what it's doing for you is it's allowing you to kind of select what information appears in a search result. When you come up in a search result, what appears? What's that little snippet or that little description of the article? The article headline, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So
and those are important too for once you've got people finding you in search, you want to be able to pull them in.
Yes. So it is important that you do a good job of that. And so they are both capable of doing that really well. A couple other plugins that we use, there's several that do this. There's one called Short Pixel, another called Imagify, that what they'll do is compress your images for you.
Okay.
The page load speed of a website isn't a super important ranking factor, but it does matter from a user experience standpoint. And images are one of the biggest offenders. When you load your homepage of your website and it has 10 articles, each with a little tiny featured image, but each of those little tiny featured images are actually a huge image that's just shrunk down, but not compressed, it can take several seconds to load your website, especially on mobile. Another one that does a really good job with page speed is called Auto-Optimize, like auto optimize, but the O is shared. That's another one that just helps with how the page loads. It pushes off the JavaScript to load later, so the page renders quickly, and then things like ads and stuff will load at the end. And so those kinds of things speed it up. Mostly, though, we try to just keep plugins to a minimum. The more plugins you have, the more negative interactions you're going to have between plugins. Actually, one of the biggest things that can slow down your site is having too many plugins. So unless you have a specific use for the plugin, we don't use it. But there are probably a handful of other plugins that we'll use. Some WordPress themes do a really good job and do the work of some plugins for you. Like they'll give you a place to put your Google Analytics code. Some themes don't have that, so you'll want to get a plugin to do that for you. That kind of stuff.
Nice. Now, you briefly mentioned mobile. How does mobile play into this? What would you say is the percentage of mobile visits versus desktop visits that you guys get?
I got to think through the numbers, but it's 60+%.
Really? Wow.
Mobile plays in huge, and so optimizing for mobile is worth doing. And really, for the most part, that comes down to picking a WordPress theme that does a good job of handling mobile. If you do that, you're just fine.
Oh, that's good. Now, one topic I'm very interested in is monetization, how you guys monetize your sites. And do you have any favorite monetization methods or programs? I know every once in a while you guys mentioned the Amazon affiliate program. When it comes to monetization, is there a certain standard or like a commission minimum or maximum or anything that you guys think about with that? And also, what are some of the favorite monetization methods?
Sure. So for affiliate marketing, Amazon's the one a lot of people talk about because it's the easiest one to get into. Anybody can sign up for it. Most sites are going to get approved for it. Amazon's commission is about as low as they get.
Right.
But it converts pretty well because people are comfortable buying on Amazon. We are finding that the payouts we're getting from Amazon are going down. And part of it is about a year and a half ago, they changed their commission structure a little bit. And so different categories now get different commission rates. And so some categories only will earn you a 2 or 3% commission. And that's just really low.
Yeah.
But again, it converts pretty well. The other thing that's hurting Amazon is that it used to be that to get free shipping or just because people would load up their carts for a while and then they would buy. And the way Amazon works is if somebody clicks my link and goes to Amazon, there's a cookie put in their browser, and then everything that they buy in the next 24 hours but only in one actual checkout, one actual sale, but everything they buy, then I get a commission for. And so that was really nice because people would go load up their cart with a bunch of other things, and then I'd get a commission for selling a vacuum, or
Right.
whatever else. Well, nowadays people just like go add to cart or buy now. And so I'm only getting the commission for one thing, which is understandable. That's kind of fair, but it has cut commissions. Now there are lots of other programs out there, depending on kind of what your topic is. ClickBank has some really good products. Share a Sale is another good one. CJ, which is Commission Junction. They all have some good ones, and it's not uncommon to be able to get, especially for digital products, like a 50% commission. We had a student recently who, through ClickBank, started selling an ebook. They offered a 50% commission. He started selling them and sold enough of them pretty quickly that he negotiated the commission up to 80%.
Nice.
So he gets 80% of the sale price of the book that he didn't even write. So really, there's not a maximum. I can't imagine them going much beyond 80%. And honestly, there are some affiliate programs, especially for subscription products, where you can get pretty much 100% of the first year subscription. Mm-hmm. But it's a one-time deal. And so they're just counting on the renewals. So There isn't really a maximum. I would say for the most part, though, outside of Amazon, a 50% commission is a pretty good one, and something to look for.
Yeah. And what kind of dollar amounts are there dollar amounts that you're looking for? Like, I want to make a minimum amount when somebody buys, or is it more about, I want to be sure this is a good fit for the visitor, regardless of dollar amount?
Mostly we want to make sure it's a good fit. We want it to be the right product. We want to make a good recommendation. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, oftentimes that'll come into play when we're picking a niche to get started in. So if we pick a niche like running, let's say, well, how many products are there involved in running? There's shoes, there's shorts, and maybe a handful of other things. And those products, most of those products aren't that expensive. And because of that, if I recommend them from Amazon, the commission's probably going to be really low. Now that used to come into play a lot more. Nowadays, you don't worry about it as much, and here's why. Advertising, just regular old placing ads on your website, mm-hmm. has become more and more appealing.
Really?
Yeah. Now, just using straight up Google AdSense, the payouts are still not very good. But there are a handful of premium ad brokers out there now who they'll place Google ads when there's nothing else available, but they'll also sell ad space to other advertisers. So you're kind of getting the benefit of the traditional ad model, which was where somebody just buys a spot on your website. You're kind of getting the benefit of that without having to actually link up with individual advertisers. You get to work with this ad broker who then is basically getting your website approved with various advertisers, and then they place the ads and they try to optimize it. So on some websites, we earn about 3 or 4 times as much as we did on AdSense. We have a website, though, where we're earning about 6 times what we used to earn on AdSense.
Wow.
Website.
That's
just
amazing.
By using a premium ad broker.
Is it primarily because the message to market match? Is it that the affiliate program is matching better, or not the affiliate, but the advertisers program is matching better than Google, or is Google just not paying as much?
I think part of it's Google's just not paying as much, and I think the other thing that really impacts it is that these premium ad brokers, they're more picky about the websites they'll put ads on. With Google ads, you can pretty much put them on pretty much anywhere. Right. Now, I mean, you can get in trouble with Google. Certain content, they won't place ads. But, with these guys, the ad broker that first approves your website, but then for anybody's ads to get placed on your website, they have to approve it. And so sometimes they'll say, we have a website about campers and RVs. There's a couple things about that market that are ideal. One is we have just a huge amount of traffic that's US based. And so advertisers that are trying to target US customers are willing to pay more for a website that is primarily US customers. And two, the demographic of people who are into campers and RVs tend to be people with disposable income and time. And so it ends up being this really, really nice demographic of people to advertise to. So even though they may not be necessarily advertising outdoor products, they're still advertising products that are more catered to this demographic of people. And this is a demographic of people that's more likely to have the money to spend on stuff. And so they just pay me more to advertise on my website, something that Google wouldn't do for me.
Right. The idea that I had is I have this mentorship program for teaching people how to create an online course and sell it and make a lot of income with that. Would it make sense for me to build a small network of niche sites, each targeting a specific kind of keyword phrase? Like one of them might be passive income, or one of them might be online courses. Another one might be digital products or information products. They're all related, and they're all they're all people that I want to bring into my funnel.
Yeah.
But would it make sense to do that for someone like me, who is long-term, in the long term, I'm here just to promote this and that's it? Or would it make more sense to build just one big authority site on the topic and just make that work?
I would, just based off of kind of what we've been looking at more recently, I would probably lean toward the one big affiliate site, or not affiliate site, authority site. And I would potentially have pretty clearly, like in your menu structure, these, various categories: passive income, courses, how to build a course. That's just the authority site's going to give you more authority. It's going to make you stand out as somebody who is an authority on the subject. And so therefore I'm more likely to buy a mentorship from you. Whereas if I see you on one of your niche websites, one of your small websites, maybe I get the impression, oh yeah, okay, this guy knows something about this, but I haven't established any kind of relationship with you. One thing about niche websites is they tend to be pretty transactional, meaning somebody comes to the website, gets the information they're looking for, probably pays very little attention to the brand, and leaves. And they may never come back again. And if they do, they might not even realize it's the same website. With an authority site, you do a little bit more branding. You do, info boss, right? There's a brand, there's a name behind that at least some group of people is going to recognize and come back to over and over again. So you get followers. That's probably another difference between the two sites that I neglected earlier. But for that reason, for what you're talking about, I would probably go with the one big site.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When you put it that way, that makes sense. So tell us a little bit about how passive income has changed your life for you and your family, and even Jim and his family. How has that, affected your guys' lives?
Yeah. So I'll start with me. For me, it started out having little impact at first, other than taking up more of my time. Because that's the nature of building niche websites. You don't really start to make much income in the short term. But, after a little bit, it was a side thing. And so having passive income on the side was just really nice. It meant that I could, there's kind of three areas of things that you do with money, right? You can save it. So I could save more, putting more away for retirement. I could spend more and increase my lifestyle, enjoy it, and I could give more, and just in charitable things, and being able to do a little bit more of all three of those things just was really nice. And then a little while back, when I moved over to this full time, where I have passive income streams, and then Income School is definitely an authority site, and it's not very passive. We have a very active YouTube channel and stuff. But there are a lot of passive income streams. And so because of that, I work for myself. I work a lot less than I used to. My stress level's lower. I've had to learn how to let things go, because being the boss, I could work myself into the ground. But I choose not to, because I have created a business that is designed to serve me and my family. And if it stops doing that at some point, then it's not really worth it. Then I know I need to put on the brakes. And so what that's allowed me to do is just have a lot more time with my family. I get up in the morning. I actually have time to exercise now, which I didn't used to have. I can sit down and read books with my little kids. I can help my son practice the piano. I can eat breakfast with the family, lunch with the family, and dinner with the family. And that's the thing is, and if I went a totally passive income model, well, then I'd probably be looking for projects to do because that's the kind of person I am. But it would allow that kind of flexibility. And that's something that, however you do it, generating passive income, if you get enough sort of layers, enough stacks or enough income streams, you can reach a point where your life is whatever you want it to be, and you don't have to wait till you're 65 or 70 or 75 to hopefully maybe someday get to retire. And that's the thing that just kind of makes me sad. Now for Jim's been doing this for so long, I don't think he even hardly remembers what it's like. Because by the time he graduated from law school, he was making enough money in his photography website that he said, well, forget this whole lawyer thing. I'm going to go be a blogger. So, he passed the bar. He is a lawyer, but I think that doing an internship and working for the county prosecutor and just being involved in that world, I think it just drained him. I think, it was hard to be happy. And, I can't say that things have always been perfect and that there hasn't been a lot of hard work along the way, but I'll tell you what, now, his kids are homeschooled now. And the experiences that they get to have because their dad's around and their mom's around, and because of the income that they have, those kids can learn how to do anything they want to learn how to do. And they're all learning video editing and video recording, and I think they have a YouTube channel now. He is taking the time to teach them life skills, not just school skills. And whether you homeschool or we don't, that's one of the things that I get to do now by being more present in my kids' life. I can work on teaching them the life skills that schools tend to neglect. Anyway, it's probably done more things for me than I can really talk about in an interview. But I do still work hard. But when I'm working, I'm really working. I never find myself sitting at the computer looking for something to do because I have to wait until 5 o'clock to go home.
Right. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, passive income. And one of the things you mentioned, Ricky, was you're the kind of person that would be looking for a project anyway if you just decided to just sit back. And Right. It's so funny because the beginning of this year, I was a little aimless with my projects, and I really didn't have to work. I have a good passive income coming in from my online courses, and I was getting kind of miserable because I'm like, I believe humans are made to work and to produce and to contribute, right? And if you're not doing that, you kind of stagnate really quickly. So
really fast, yeah.
Yeah, I could totally relate to that, and that's why in a different interview that I was doing, somebody asked, well, what is it like to have passive income and to keep growing it? Do you guys ever see where you'll stop doing it? And I'm like, and myself and the other guy just started laughing because we're like, that's such a foreign concept. Why would you stop when it's something that fulfills you? It's something that's contributing to society. You're helping people. It's like the perfect business to be in, right? Whether it's niche sites or online courses, I think in both cases, you're contributing to society, you're helping people, and you're making a good income doing it. It's an incredible way to live, right?
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I'm with you. My wife and I have this conversation. I've kind of had this conversation with Jim too. At what point do we stop? And right. And from a how much money you need standpoint, I probably will have no reason from a financial standpoint to do anything after about 40. I'm pretty young still. but that would be a miserable life for me. And so, if I'm fortunate enough to have plenty of money by that point to never need to work again, then I will probably be spending my time looking for a mission, looking for a passion, looking for somebody else I can help. And I think that's why a lot of really wealthy people end up so philanthropic, and partly because they have money, but partly because they need something to do to be fulfilled. And when you've spent your life building something that you're passionate about, if you don't have a passion for something, you would just, I don't know, you kind of wither away and die, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm
and more income means you can give more, and more income means you can help a lot more people. And a bigger business, especially if it is really contributing, means you're being more fulfilled. You're helping more people. So I mean, how much of that do you want? I want a lot of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, I think it was one of the first videos I saw. You guys had like 10 laptops, and it seemed like you had rented a home or bought a home. And tell me a little bit about that project.
Yeah. So this is something that Jim and I have been talking about for about 6 months. And I told him no. At first I said, we've got too much going on. But the idea here is we have this process for building a website. We have now a process for writing an article, for how to write a good article. And if it's a process that we're teaching to people in Project 24 that we believe should work, whether we're the ones doing it or they are doing it, then we ought to be able to try it out with just other people and see how it works. If we really believe in it, we should test it out, and we should really scale our business.
Right.
And so we said, you know what, we do believe in it, so let's give it a shot. We went over to Eastern Idaho to a town called Rexburg. Rexburg is the home of BYU Idaho. It's a good school for us for a couple of reasons. One is they actually have like a year-round class schedule. A lot of universities have a summer off, and most students leave for the summer. They're on like a track system where everybody has 2 semesters out of the year, but not everybody has the same 2. And so we actually have people there year-round, which helps because when you rent an office, you don't get to rent it for 8 months out of the year. And the other thing, too, is Rexburg's a pretty small town. Not a whole lot of job options for the many students that are there. And because of that, we think we'll get a lot lower turnover. So anyway, we went over to Rexburg. We looked at all sorts of offices. And we landed on this one that is it's an old house that they had turned into a commercial space. So they had just made a few modifications to the house to make it legit commercial as opposed to residential. And of the options that were there, it was the best fit for now, at least. And anyway, so we went over there. We spent a day. That's what that video was. Jim and I spent a day over there setting up the office. We got all the desks and computers and everything. And then last week I was over there. We hired all of our writers for the semester. Jim was there this week, yesterday. I guess he's driving back today, but just to kind of see how they would do and kind of get a feel for the people in person. A couple months ago, we hired somebody who's going to school there who happened to be here for the summer, and we spent most of the summer training him to manage the place. And now we have an office full of people who are writing a few days a week, basically. Mm-hmm. So it's open there 5 days a week. They work a 3-hour shift, so we don't want anybody to get burned out because they're writing. It's easy to get burned out doing that. And they come in. Most people come in 2 to 3 times a week, and they write for us. And in that office, we're going to be able to get about 200 articles every single month, which is, if you can imagine, I mean, most people, we say, go write 30 articles on your blog, and if you can do that in 60 days, you're doing fine. Mm-hmm. Well, 30 articles on a website is like 2.5 days now for us. So anyway, that's kind of what we're doing. We're scaling up big time. Like I said, we've researched a bunch of websites, so we've just handed them to the manager and said, here you go. Just next article on the list, hand them off to the writers. And anyway, there's lots of things we're doing to try to make it as authentic as possible. whatever topic we do, we're actually like providing them with whatever it is, whatever the topic is, providing them with stuff so they can kind of get hands-on with the topic, because we want it to still be as genuine as possible, and not make it feel like it's coming out of like a content mill. So anyway, that's what we're doing. It's a big project. It's a big experiment for us. And
yeah, it sounds exciting though. I mean, to be able to scale up this business, because one of the things I like about your business model is you can scale it up by adding more sites, adding more authority sites if need be. And like this experiment that you guys are doing, just hiring a team of writers, I mean, think about some of the biggest websites on the internet, like BuzzFeed. They've got a team of writers, right? Every site has a team of writers. So, and then you're applying your proven formula, which is awesome, and then just roll it out, have them do that work. So it's very much like I just recently hired a college student to assist me in my business with creating daily YouTube videos and doing content marketing to drive traffic to my mentorship program. Your ability to just duplicate yourself like that is so precious when you're an entrepreneur, and you can kind of hand off some of the work and keep your business going, and you kind of look at you're kind of more in the overseeing role of things. So that's great, man. I look forward to just hearing how you guys do on that. And I'm already subscribed to you guys on YouTube, so I know I'll hear all the stuff there. But awesome. So we're closing out here, Ricky, and it's been an awesome interview, by the way. Tell us a little bit about your niche site training and your community, and kind of what your mission is around that. Give us a way that they can find you as well. And I'd love to just hear more about it.
Okay, well, I mean, you can always find us at incomeschool.com or on our Income School YouTube channel. To be completely honest, we've done a pretty horrific job of writing content on incomeschool.com for a long time, because we've just spent so much of our time on YouTube. So our YouTube channel is the best place to kind of get the most up-to-date information. But the website itself is a really nice hub for, especially for the course and for learning about the course. So our course is called, like I said earlier, Project 24. If you just go to incomeschool.com, on the menu, there's a button there that says Project 24. You can see what's in there and what it's all about. But what Project 24 is all about is we just wanted to create like the absolute best set of information and resources for somebody to be able to build multiple passive income niche websites. And so we've got our 60-step plan in there. We have various other courses. Anytime that we kind of do something new, we make a course out of it and we put it in there. We added one a while back about how to find, hire, and train freelance writers to write for you. And we actually put a training video in there that's downloadable so that they can download it and just have the people they hire watch that video. And it's the same video that we use now to train freelance writers. Now that we're doing this project actually over in Eastern Idaho, where we've hired a bunch of writers, we're learning a lot about how to help them write faster, how to help them write better. And as we do that, all of our training that we create for them, again, goes into Project 24. Also in Project 24, we do a podcast that's, again, just in Project 24. But it's in that podcast that we give the most up-to-date information about what we're working on. Nice. So stuff that may come out in a training later, we're talking about it now and giving information now. And so there's that. And then we have a community in there. It's kind of a mix between a forum and a kind of like a Facebook group. And again, that's kind of hosted through the website. And that's where everybody goes and gets tech support. That's where everybody goes and gets motivation. And so we have this really active community of people in there that are just learning from each other. It's kind of cool. In the course, we have people who are just getting started. They've never done anything online before. And we have people that have been doing this for, 12 years and who have built multiple websites and, who have always done it kind of the old way. And this whole mentality of make helpful content and monetize second, make the content first, monetize second. Right. Just that whole approach It's just so novel. And so they decide, I'm going to join and I'm going to learn about that and be a part of this community. And so when somebody has a technical question, well, there are people in there that know more about web development than I do. In fact, we've been working on a plugin. We pulled a web developer out of Project 24 and said, hey, will you develop this plugin for us? Because you know how to do that. We don't. And so we just have this broad range of experience in that group. And it's just been a lot of fun. So that's what Project 24 is. Income School, I would say, is really, it's about two things, right? The first thing is Income School as a business owns many websites, passive websites that we create. It owns incomeschool.com, and that's me and Jim. Everything Jim and I do together is Income School, the company. And the purpose of Income School is, one, like any business, to be completely honest, it earns us an income and in a way that we can be happy with. And so that's great. But two, it really does have a mission beyond that. Obviously, we're teaching other people how to do this kind of stuff. And really, I get more bang for my buck if I just go make websites. Teaching is a really good business. It really is. And you can make good money teaching. Absolutely, we do. But I'd probably make more if I devoted the same amount of time making my other websites. But Jim and I both feel very passionate about trying to help other people and trying to give them the right information. There are too many people that are teaching that quit doing like a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And because of that, they're not teaching the right stuff. That's our opinion. So anyway, we're all about teaching. And so when we build our passive income websites, every time we build a new one, we're thinking about two things. We're thinking about, okay, we build this website and what's it do for our income? But two, we build this website and what cool things can we learn? So when we build a new website, we don't just do the thing that we know is going to work. We try to push the limits of what we know and what we're comfortable with so that we can test things and then use those things to help our audience. And that our audience is obviously Project 24. They get the best information, the most in detail information, but also on our YouTube channel where, again, we just feel like the more helpful we can be, the more genuine we can be, the better it's going to be for us and the better it's going to be for the people that we help. Eventually, most fakers will be called out.
Right.
And so
well, that's one of the things I was impressed with your videos, and one of the reasons I kept watching video after video was kind of like Oreos. I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Because I saw the genuineness. I saw that you guys are relaying really good information in those free videos. These are free videos,
Yeah.
And you're really giving a lot of really good secrets and good content. And so that's why I couldn't stop watching it, because I'm like, okay, this is really getting me back into the idea of building niche sites again. I love passive income, and I have a great passive income for my online courses, but I'm always looking to expand. And seeing that I've had this experience in the past with niche sites and always been fascinated with that idea, I was like, man, I want to do this. So just watching your videos and watching how genuine you guys are and how real you guys are, that goes a long way, let me tell you. Because you could watch a lot of videos on YouTube about marketing, internet marketing, all that stuff. And, you've got the guys with the Lamborghinis and all this stuff, and it's flash, but, or like they say in Texas, all hat and no cattle, right?
That's right.
But you guys clearly are the real deal. And that's why I wanted to feature you guys to my audience and just promote. I love to promote something that's real and honest and transparent and helpful. And especially if it has to do with the passive income. This has been great, and I think my audience is going to enjoy it and get a lot out of it. So I just want to thank you for taking the time here today to join us.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. It's been a pleasure, and again, thanks for introducing us to your audience. We really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. If you like this video, if you like this interview, be sure to check them out at incomeschool.com and be sure to check out their YouTube channel as well. I believe it's also Income School. Yeah, be sure to check out their YouTube channel And I'm going to be bringing you news and information like this, interviews like this on occasion when I find something that's truly at the next level.